The Aperture Field, a place for seeing clearly and thinking about what matters. This is Carrie Lamott contemplating the written work, The Shape of Community, Sliding Doors and Elevator Conversations, 3 communities and what they taught me about belonging. I'm part of a neighborhood of arguably some of the nicest people around. And that's a curious thing to say because I live in a place that's defined by density, apartments and condo towers everywhere you turn, with communal spaces that seem just large enough to hold everyone, though you sometimes wonder how many more could fit in. When we think of a neighborhood, many of us immediately picture something quite different. Rows of suburban houses, small lawns, short hedges, and neighbors leaning over fences to exchange news about what's happening in the world. But my earliest experiences of neighborhood looked really different from this image. My mother grew up in a farming community of roughly 350 people, surrounded by wheat fields and located 15 minutes from the nearest small city. When we visited my grandparents, no one used the front door, and in fact, if somebody knocked on it, the entire house would fall momentarily silent as everyone wondered who on earth that could be. People just walked up the driveway. They slid open the glass door off the kitchen and they came in. By the time they reached the table, coffee was already being poured. There was rarely ceremony. A casual, "How's it going?" was often enough. Unless, of course, the visitor had been away for a long time, and then hugs, laughter, and a warm sense of "you belong here" would ripple through the room. What's striking to me is that these homes were often separated by a quarter mile or more. There was no cul-de-sac, no shared green space, no density, but community was still strong. Later, I lived on Commercial Drive in Vancouver. The neighborhood could not have been more different. It was dense, vibrant, and wonderfully eclectic. Artists, families, professionals, breweries, activists, immigrants, and people living every imaginable version of life. Community there was practiced differently. You called ahead. You arranged to meet for coffee. You scheduled playdates. You didn't simply arrive unannounced. Because home there was a sanctuary. It was a retreat from the constant sensory richness of the drive itself. The street provided the shared experience, while individual homes provided refuge. But even there, I encountered another form of neighborhood. A friend lived in a small condo building where residents routinely left their doors open. Neighbors wandered in and out, pets visited each other's suites, and when the building needed painting, the residents all pulled up their brushes and completed the work together over a weekend. Somewhere between the paint, the shared meals, and maybe a little bit of beer, a genuine sense of family emerged. And now I live in Lower Lonsdale, where people strike up conversations in grocery store lines. They chat in elevators. They greet each other on the street. The city itself has intentionally created gathering places, outdoor skating rinks that become splash parks in the summer, public plazas, markets, stages, and spaces that invite people outside and into one another's lives. Which makes me wonder, what actually makes a neighborhood? Is it a particular housing form? Is it single-family homes and front yards? Or is neighborhood something deeper? Maybe it's a way people choose to show up for one another within the constraints and opportunities of the places they inhabit. I feel like this question is getting more and more important. Over the last 20 years, my community has changed dramatically. Like many places around the world, population growth and housing pressure have transformed what was once a relatively small community into a much denser one. Imagine living somewhere for 50 years and watching in what feels like an instant, thousands of new people arriving. Suddenly, the patterns of relationship and being that shaped your life no longer work in the same way. And people and families who are living in 800 square foot apartments often experience the city very differently than those living in detached homes. For someone raising a family in a small apartment, public spaces matter enormously. Parks, splash pads, skating rinks, transit, and green spaces all become extensions of the home itself. They're not luxuries, they're necessities. For someone who's lived for decades in a detached home, community may center around a backyard, a long established network of neighbors, and a car that enables independence. Many have aged in place. Transit may not be physically practical or geographically convenient. Their needs are no less real. And neither perspective is wrong. Both emerge from lived experience. What a challenge it must be to plan communities that have to simultaneously house young families, maintain affordability, support economic vitality, and honor the needs of an aging population whose experience of place is rapidly changing. Maybe this is symbolic of a lot of the tensions we see today. It's remarkably easy to cast those with different needs as the problem. Social media amplifies this tendency, magnifying feelings of being unseen, unheard, or left behind until frustration hardens into camps and camps harden into conflict. We speak louder and louder, hoping the other side will finally hear us. But what if we reverse the sequence? What if we entered those conversations with open ears first? What if we sought to truly understand another person's lived experience before offering our own? How might our communities change if understanding became our starting point rather than our destination? These notes are really an ongoing exploration, an attempt to make sense of the patterns, tensions, and transitions shaping the world around us and within us. If something here resonated with you or sparked reflections of your own, you can continue the conversation over at the Aperture Field on Substack. I'd truly love to hear what you're seeing too. Until next time, take good care of yourself and of the systems you're part of. Music by Pavel Bekarev.